Hey everyone, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Will.
I am Brian.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons. And today we are covering the Death Tyrant. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome, adventurers, to the Dungeoncast.
Hey Brian.
Can you do it again?
Oh, why?
Because I burped.
You burped during the...
Just now.
I guess we'll start over.
You just say, hey, Brian.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey Brian.
Hey, Will.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I just burped, so I feel really good.
It was an impressive burp.
Oh,
It was.
thanks.
Yeah, it was absolutely
I was confused
impressive.
on whether you heard it or not.
No, I did.
Based off of what happened after.
Man, we've been doing this so long. I'll roll with whatever punches you throw at me.
That's right, dude. Be like the leaf.
I gotta be like the
Flow
leaf.
like water. Redirect that energy at your opponent and take them down.
Absolutely.
We've got contests.
We do. We're giving away coffee every week of this month, which by the time this airs, we're already coming to the end of the final
This is
week.
the last spooky month.
Yeah, so
Spooky
the
week.
last bag of coffee's be given away. Check out social media if you want more info about it, because right now we're talking about Death Tyrants. Brian, what happens
That's me.
when a year dedicated to a specific kind of orbular abomination collides with a month devoted to all things spooky and horrifying?
A big pumpkin.
The
really
answer
big pumpkin.
is this episode is the answer. This is what happens.
This is it, the Death Tyrant.
Today we are covering the Death Tyrant, which is sort of like a Beholder Lich, but also a lot different. Powerful, malevolent, undead, and horrifying in both its appearance and intelligence level. This skeletal abomination is perfect for a horror-themed game or even as a BBEG of your standard long-term campaign. It's also not a bad candidate as a patron for the Undead Pact Warlock we talked about earlier this month.
That's cool.
But like many things we have talked about in this game, there's two different versions of this monster. The old 2nd to 3rd edition and the newer Svelter 5th edition version.
Svelter.
They are quite different and we will go over both. But before we get into it, I have to ask, do you know anything about Death Tyrants, Brian?
Yeah, aren't they like the skull in the monster manual? Basically, it's just like a skinless beholder.
Yeah, you're talking about the correct image that I'm sure you will show right here, right now. But do you know anything about it besides the way it looks?
But after the things you just told me and that, I'm sure it does beholder stuff in some level. No, I don't really know anything
All
about
right,
it,
cool.
actually.
Let's get into it then. So let us begin with the more recent and much cooler version of the Death Tyrant. On rare occasions, a beholder's sleeping mind drifts to places beyond its normal madness, imagining a reality in which it exists beyond death. This is more and more likely to begin as a beholder ages, and in its advanced age, it spends more and more time worrying about its own mortality. The dreams of such a death-fearing beholder might reach into strange corners of reality and imagine circumstances in which the creature can live on after death. When such dreams take hold, a beholder can transform, its flesh sloughing away to leave a death tyrant behind. This monster possesses the cunning and much of the magic it had in life, but it is fueled by the power of undeath. Death Tyrant appears as a massive naked skull with a pinpoint of red light gleaming in its hollow eye socket. With its eye stalks rotted away, the 10 spectral eyes hover above the creature and glare in all directions.
That's so fucking cool.
I know.
It's just got psychic eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm about to say this in the notes, that this is the creme de la creme of monster design, if you ask me.
Oh, man.
I love this thing.
That sounds great. I like how it's like a midlife crisis for beholders that like brings the dreams.
I mean, honestly, that's most of, like, it's always a midlife crisis that causes the beholder to fuck itself up and turn itself into something worse.
Like Dr. Doom is gonna beat themselves.
Yeah, beholders tend to beat themselves, it's true. But essentially, to put it in similar terms, this thing looks kind of like a demi-lich with laser eyes, and I love it.
Yeah, just a floating skull demi-lich.
Yeah, absolutely. So when a beholder awakens to find themselves transformed into a death tyrant, it will find that though it exists in a state of undeath, its fear of being killed remains unabated. A death tyrant's paranoia about its enemies tends to be related to how it fears it will be destroyed, and its plans take that fear into account. For example, a death tyrant who imagines it will eventually be slain by dragon's fire might relocate its lair to the icier reaches of the world. Or perhaps it foresees its death might be by goblinoid raiders. A Death Tyrant might expend copious resources sending its minions to hunt down all goblins within 100 miles, or take some other drastic measure to ensure that the fear never becomes a reality.
Damn, there'd have to be so many fucking goblins, but can you imagine being this and getting killed by fucking goblins?
I mean, I would picture it would be armies of goblins.
It would have to be...
Which do exist sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, they're hobgoblins and like things like that, bugbears. There's lots of good, strong goblins. Just like Goblins.
Yeah.
Goblins killed it.
I know.
The level 1 adventure monster. Yeah.
Well, I mean, goblins can also be adventurers.
When do goblins start becoming like not relevant in the CR? You know what I mean? Like, where it becomes like, I cannot throw this many at the players and make it be a good combat. You know?
I would say, depending on your party composition, somewhere between CR 6 and 8.
Okay.
8 on the really high end, I think. That's just my... and we're talking about basic goblins, because there are like the more advanced ones that like, you know, the chieftains and all the different variations that exist at this point.
The ones that ride the ogres.
Like all that stuff. Okay. Yeah. If we're just talking
I want that as a touchstone to see like what it would take to beat this thing later when we read the stat book.
Okay, sounds good. As they did when they were mere beholders, Death Tyrants lord their power over other creatures, but their new abilities turn them into deathly despots capable of raising entire armies for them to command. The standard beholder's innate ability to quash magical energy from its central eye gives way to a more sinister power in a Death Tyrant, which can both negate all healing within its sight, but also transform former slaves and enemies into undead servants. Zombies created by a Death Tyrant are used and discarded as needed. They stand guard at the entrance of the Death Tyrant's lair or guard its treasure vaults. Acting as bait for traps or as combat fodder, zombies keep powerful enemies distracted while the Death Tyrant moves into position and prepares to destroy them.
Wow.
A Death Tyrant that embraces undeath, and let's be honest, why wouldn't it, becomes an engine of destruction. Driven by a hunger for power and security, it advances against humanoid settlements, using its eye rays to destroy every creature it encounters, then building an army of undead. If left unchecked, a Death Tyrant might wipe out the population of a city in weeks, then set its undead eye on wider conquest with its armies of the dead. As each settlement falls, the Death Tyrant zombie forces build to overwhelming numbers. Now, this is a very common thing with undead in general in D&D. Very few undead can just leave anything well enough alone. There seems to be this undeniable need to feed on the living and to spread undeath like a disease across the lands.
Yeah.
I guess
comes with the territory.
I guess it just feels right.
It's like, it just feels like what I should do.
There should be more people
Like me.
out there.
Absolutely.
I can help them.
If we consider undeath as the state of constant gnawing hunger and cold emptiness, an undead creature has an insatiable need to fill this void with life and energy, but the void cannot be filled, and thus the undeath instead spreads.
So like vampiric. Now, is this a like similar to Lich thing? Like, is there a phylactery involved? Like, what are we doing?
No.
Are we talking about like, how does this thing?
It just alters reality.
It just makes it so.
Yeah, it makes it so. Absolutely.
It doesn't leave its old self behind, or like birth its new Lich self and kills its old self, or is it
that we've talked about that in the Bowler episode. So like
Yes.
that can happen where rather than it transforms into a Death Tyrant, it actually makes a Death Tyrant of itself, and then they have to fight to the death.
It's like, man, I wish I was a Death Tyrant. Good night, everyone. Oh fuck.
Oops.
Yeah.
One important note about a Death Tyrant's ability to command undead versus other undead is the unlimited potential paired with the lack of concerted effort on behalf of the tyrant itself. Most necromancers, liches, dracoliches, etc. are limited in the number of minions that they can command at any one time. It takes effort, components, and concentration. Even the most powerful necromancers can probably only actively manage a horde of a couple hundred or so undead. Before the Death Tyrant, this is not the case. There is no spell with components or concentration that needs to be held. A zombie raised by a Death Tyrant is done so instantly, without effort, and serves its creator in a permanent capacity. A Death Tyrant could, in theory, literally control an army of millions.
So like the raise dead, or like animate dead, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
So the animate dead spell, you can get multiples, right?
Yeah.
And it can be bones, it could be a corpse, right?
Yeah.
So, but the way it's worded makes it seem like you have to you can issue the same command individually to each, which made me instantly picture like a web, like psychic web, like with a string attached, like
I can see that,
a pin in my brain and a pin in the whatever, like energy thing, however that works.
Yeah.
Probably horribly. So you have to issue this command once, but across all these different channels.
Right.
So that's how I picture like the capacity for a creature to like command a certain amount.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that imagery. I think that works pretty well. So, in previous editions, Death Tyrants were much, much less impressive creatures.
I see.
Though still as thoroughly reprehensible of creatures as their 5th edition counterparts, these Death Tyrants are undead beholders akin to zombies than undead overlords.
Oh, okay. That's weird that they would still call them Death Tyrants.
I know.
That's such a
I'm
powerful name.
I say that somewhere else in the notes. It's like, yeah, that's such a commanding name for someone who instead gets commanded. It
just
doesn't
a
make
zombie.
sense. Yeah, you're just a zombie.
I'm the biggest death. like zombie thing.
Absolutely.
I guess that's what they were going
with. They do retain some of their innate magical abilities. These creatures are often minions or pawns used by powerful wizards as guardians. This makes their name a bit dumb because these guys are anything but tyrants. They are almost never encountered near other beholders who find them abhorrent. Which, I mean, yeah, of course they do. Like, beholder's whole thing is about supremacy. And this is a version of them that is like a mindless drone.
Oh yeah, in the old lore.
So it's like,
you're no beholder.
Yeah, like you're no wizard lich. You gave up your humanity long ago.
Yeah,
like,
there we go.
Thing.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Although they're totally still wizards.
They're super duper wizards. Yeah, that's maybe not the closest comparison, I guess, now that I think about it.
This form of Death Tyrant appears as a rotting, mold-encrusted beholder. Gaping wounds, whether from injury or simple decomposition, expose the insides of its body, and it is either missing a few eye stalks or has a milky film covering some of its eyes. Because of its zombie-like state, it moves and turns more slowly than other beholders, and it does not speak or understand any language. This type of Death Tyrant is created by ritual. To create a Death Tyrant is quite elaborate, and the components required for it typically cost around 3,000 gold pieces.
To make 3,000 gold to make this shitty fucking thing, but it'll listen to you.
To make a beholder zombie is what this is.
It'll listen to you though.
Like this,
I bet it is like the best undead thing you can do then, based off of this. Like if you have all the undead monsters, which one's the best, right? Maybe this thing in the old lore.
If we're talking zombies,
we're talking zombies.
What's the best zombie?
This classification of creature.
It's going to be somewhere between either a zombie beholder, which exists in the monster manual, or a
zombie dragon.
Zombie dragon. Yeah, that's what I was going to go with.
You got maybe zombie dragon's 5,000 GP, and we don't got 5, we got 3.
Yeah,
baby.
exactly. So
and I killed that beholder like 3 hours ago.
So let's go.
Let's get him.
Elder orbs and beholder mages, as well as necromancers, are known to be capable of casting the spell that can transform dead beholders into Death Tyrants. A Death Tyrant is programmed with specific instructions when it is created. These instructions are usually quite simple. For example, attack all humans who enter this chamber until they are destroyed or flee. Do not leave the chamber. A Death Tyrant with no instructions simply attacks all living things it perceives. Though it is a mindless undead, it still fights as if it had intelligence, using its eyes as effectively as possible. Now, this does exist in 5th edition. This creature.
Okay.
It's just called a beholder zombie.
Much more aptly named.
Yeah. This was the Death Tyrant before the current Death Tyrant, which is way cooler.
Yeah, for sure. They just happen to share the name.
Any questions about Death Tyrants before we get into? We got layer actions, we got regional effects, and then we got a stat block.
Ooh, wow. That's a lot. No, I don't have questions. Are we short resting?
I think we are short resting.
Let's do a short rest.
Hello, everybody. This is Tom Case.
And this is Will Stark.
Will, could you imagine if we had our own podcast?
Dude, could you imagine?
What if the Loch Ness Monster was real?
Do you think they would open, like, essentially a quote-unquote Jurassic Park for this?
Oh, no,
like,
no. They're not going to let anyone look at it.
What if your house was haunted?
Mm-hmm. Let's say it was a woman. She wants companionship.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not talking about, like, love or sex or anything. Cool. You know, I was going to bring this up, but I knew you were going to say no, so.
What if someone close to you was a werewolf?
Set up a camera, because it would still be a full moon, so she would turn into a wolf monster. Go out in the night, probably kill some people. Oops.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing I can do about that.
The best in what if entertainment. Just search Dude, Could You Imagine anywhere podcasts can be found.
We've returned.
Do we have, and it's time to talk about the layer, regional effects, and stat block of the Death Tyrant.
Let me, William, guide you through your notes.
Please, by all means, go right ahead.
A Death Tyrant's lair is usually the same site it held as a beholder, but it contains more trappings of death and decay. A Death Tyrant encountered in its lair has a challenge rating of 15.
I'm kind of going through a goth phase now.
I am a goth phase. I'm more than just a phase. It's not a phase, Mom.
You know, we talk a lot about beholders with the reality bending powers turning into a thing, but do they ever turn themselves back? Like, do they lose the reality altering power the second they change?
I'm sure they could.
I don't know. I've never seen it written down.
They have, like, beholder powers.
They're still a beholder.
Beholders. Yeah.
I think maybe the rule of thumb is if they are still a true beholder, they retain that power. But if they fuck up and turn themselves into a beholderkin, it's over.
Maybe Death Tyrants don't sleep like certain fish or whatever. They just go into like a stasis resting point. Maybe it'll happen there.
Maybe.
An area that is a 50-foot cube within 120 feet of the Tyrant is filled with spectral eyes and tentacles. To creatures other than the Death Tyrant, that area is lightly obscured and difficult terrain until initiative count 20 on the next round. Okay,
Nice.
that's interesting. Walls sprout spectral appendages until initiative count 20 on the round after next. Any creature, including one on the ethereal plane that is hostile to the tyrant and starts its turn within 10 feet of the wall, must succeed on a DC 17 dexterity saving throw or be grappled. Escaping requires a successful DC 17 strength, athletics, or dexterity acrobatics check. That's kind of cool. I like that. Although grappling generally kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's not the strongest thing.
No. A spectral eye opens in the air at a point within 50 feet of the tyrant. One random eye ray of the tyrant shoots from that eye, which is considered to be an ethereal source. At a target of the tyrant's choice, the eye then closes and disappears. The Death Tyrant can't repeat an effect until all three have been used, and it can't use the same effect on consecutive rounds. It's interesting. Okay.
So the way I see this is the first one, I think it's pretty much reserved for it with the Death Tyrant trying to run for its life. It's like, bam, good luck shooting me through this and good luck getting through it. I'm outie.
I kind of like it, like that scene in Naruto with Itachi and Jiraiya fighting, and he makes the hallway into like a toad stomach.
I vaguely remember that.
Well, basically, it's this move, and they're like in the hallway, and he's like, "I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me."
Right.
So
right.
like now you're in this hallway tentacle, and you're like being funneled, and this thing can just sit at the end and fire on you.
That's true. That's okay. That's a good point. That's a better use and a much more aggressive use. I like that. The grapple one's the one that probably least impresses me.
Yeah, because it is grappling. But DC 17 is not the worst.
No, it's not. And then an extra eye, you can't go wrong with that because that's what a beholder fucking does. It shoots eye rays at you.
And I don't think this thing is going to be like limited by size. These tentacles are probably going to appear to whatever size creature you're going to be dealing with. So if you have like a centaur in the party or something like that,
They're still medium.
medium. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to talk about size. Next episode, I'm going to go on a rant. But anyways.
I've been reading about size. It's fucking bonkers, man. Like, I don't know. Anyway, regional effects. A region containing a Death Tyrant's lair is warped by the creature's unnatural presence, which creates one or more of the following effects. See, this sort of like flavor in the details here kind of implies that it does have that ability to change itself back into a normal beholder.
Good point.
Given the like...
the reality
right
altering
circumstances,
like it's still altering reality.
It needs a mentality to get there, right?
Right.
So
yeah, absolutely.
He's like, man, I got beat, but I didn't get killed. This sucks. I was better before, and it like goes to bed.
Right.
Mad.
I can see that. Yeah, absolutely goes to bed.
Okay, so regional effects. A region containing a Death Tyrant. Did I read that part? Yes,
You
I
did.
Sorry. Creatures within 1 mile of the Tyrant's lair sometimes feel as if they're being watched, even when they aren't. So you might be being watched.
It's just an uncomfortable feeling.
You might have gazers looking at you.
You got gazers? You might.
You got gazers? We sell shampoo for that. Dungeoncast.com/Teespring or whatever. When a creature hostile to the tyrant and aware of its existence finishes a long rest within 1 mile of the tyrant's lair, roll a d20 for that creature. On a roll of 10 or lower, the creature is subjected to one random eye ray of the tyrant.
God damn.
Yeah, that's cool. If the Death Tyrant dies, these effects fade over the course of 1d10 days.
So you might just wake up and get death raid where you stand. That fucking sucks. Oh, today's gonna be good. Oh, and then you're done. Wake up to a death raid. That's a fucking worst.
Oh
morning.
man, I'm gonna start today by drinking 2 flasks of water. I'm gonna flush all the back. Yeah, great.
All right, Brian, tell me about the stat block.
Let me stat it out. Let me switch over to this tab. Yeah, baby, we got the Death Tyrant, which is large, undead, lawful evil with an armor class of 19 natty. I'm just a skull and some rotting flesh. Well, no, the
Bone
rotting
be
flesh
strong.
was the old one.
No, yeah, it's a shitty one.
This one
we don't talk about that one.
Yeah, this beholder drank its milk when it altered reality.
Indeed, it did.
It's just its skull. 187 hit points or 25d10 plus 50 with a normal beholder movement, which is 0 feet walking and fly speed of 20 hover. Strength 10, dexterity 14, con 14, intelligence 19, wisdom 15, and charisma 19. Pretty good.
Yep.
Not as good as the Dullahan.
Which was a beast. What's the CR on this bad boy?
CR on this bad boy is 14.
Yeah,
Hey,
maybe you had
that was the
something
number
there.
we said first, but 13.
Yeah.
A little less balanced than the Dullahan though. Like in terms, like it's brain heavy over here on the right hand side.
Oh,
of
yeah,
the stats.
yeah.
We got saving throws up the wazoo, +5 to strength, +7 to con, +9 to intelligence, +7 to wisdom, and +9 to charisma. What's that
Yeah, the Dullahan only had +7, so it's got him on that.
one con save too,
Yeah.
so it does have a beat there. Skills, perception plus 12. Damage, immunities, poison. Condition immunities, charm, exhaustion, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone. It has dark vision at 120 feet, not true sight. And then passive perception of 22, which is good. That's normal beholder stuff. Deep speech and undercommon are the languages it speaks. We already said challenge rating 14 with a +5 proficiency bonus. So I would say stronger than the Dullahan. And I love all the additional saves on here, like kind of representing a beholder's paranoia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being ready for everything. Negative energy cone. The Death Tyrant's central eye emits an invisible magical 150-foot cone of negative energy at the start of each of its turns. The Death Tyrant decides which way the cone faces and whether the cone is active. Now, does it have to turn physically to do that as well? Or can it just decide to shoot the cone? Like, this one makes more sense for the eye to like roll back into its skull and like be looking out the other way to make the cone.
That's true. It's a laser eye anyways.
Yeah.
I think it does have to turn.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Especially based off the normal.
Yeah,
beholder.
but that doesn't cost it action or anything.
Right, it's free.
So,
it's free
yeah.
movement. It's not even going to count as movement. So any creature in that area can't regain hit points. Any humanoid that dies there becomes a zombie under the tyrant's command. The dead humanoid retains its place in the initiative order and animates at the start of its next turn, provided that its body hasn't been completely destroyed, which is probably really possible based off of the next things I'm going to read.
Now, the main thing here is like this guy is going to make it very difficult for your healer to heal you.
Oh yeah. You gotta like strategically move around the battlefield to get a heal in like optimally.
Absolutely.
Probably. Teleport, Thunderstep. It's really good. Anyway, we got the bite. It's +5 to hit. Reach of 5 feet. One target. It's gonna do 14 or 46 piercing damage. We got the eye raise.
It's probably never going to bite you.
You never know. I always think of it as like a last stitch thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, for the eye raise, I don't think we have to go over any of this. It's literally identical to the regular beholder. You could just list the raise.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Oh,
we got eye raise. Death Tyrant shoots 3 of the following magical eye rays at random. Reroll duplicates, choosing 1 to 3 targets it can see within 120 feet, which is standard beholder stuff. It's got the charm ray, the paralyzing ray, the fear ray. Those do charming, paralyzing, and fear stuff. So look up condition immunities, and we got the slowing ray. The target must succeed on. I gotta scroll back up to the top. DC 17 dex save. On a fail, the speed is halved. Enervating ray, DC 17 con save, taking 36 or 88 necrotic damage. Telekinetic ray, sleep ray, petrification ray, disintegration ray, which is always good. I'll just read this one again because it's so good.
It is good.
If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC, and not like a construct, I guess. It must succeed on a DC 17 dexterity saving throw, take 45 or 10d8 force damage. Force damage is cool. If this damage reduces the creature to 0 hit points, the body becomes a pile of fine gray dust, which then you can sell to drug addicts. If the target is large or smaller non-magical object or creation of magical force, it is disintegrated without a saving throw. If the target is huge or larger object or creation of magical force, this ray disintegrates a 10-foot cube of it. And then we got the death ray, causes you death or DC
or 10d10 damage.
Yeah, DC 17 dex save, 55 or 10d10 necrotic damage. If you drop to 0, you did. No saves.
So essentially, the only real difference is, I'm looking at the 2 stat blocks between the Beholder and the Death Tyrant is Death Tyrant gets a +1 AC, a little more, a smidge more HP. It has all those immunities from being undead, so the charm, exhaustion, paralyzed, all that stuff. So I mean, that's a pretty big bonus. And then of course the negative energy cone. That's the big one. Otherwise, it's pretty much identical to the Beholder, which is makes sense, but maybe a little lazy. I feel like some of these rays could have been changed to be more like, I don't know, undead themed, but I mean,
can this thing it can animate dead though, right? Like you were saying in the lore, like
with its negative energy cone.
With the negative energy cone,
yeah,
that's what it's doing.
It becomes a zombie.
Oh, I see.
And you can just raise infinite zombies.
Well, all right. I mean, what else could you do though? Like with the rays, how would you get creative here?
I mean, I would look at a lot of like necromancy spells and see if I can't churn some of those into rays.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have one off the top of my head, but I think probably somewhere between spell levels of like 3 and 6. maybe
it's already
pick a
doing
few of those.
like necrotic damage.
Yeah,
on some
you
of
got
these,
necrotic
right?
damage and you have death, right? Like disintegration and death ray can stay.
Maybe change out petrification for something
Yeah.
like undead flavored, because that's like more of a standard, or like the I don't know. I like the telekinetic ray. It makes for really funny situations.
Sure, absolutely. Like I said, I would think about it and I would look through the catalog and see if there's anything that catches my eye to give it a little extra flavor. But other than that, like I don't really have a complaint. This is a terrifying monster and one I've never really had the opportunity to run.
We homebrew rays every episode at the end if you want to stick around.
It's true. It's
so
true.
Maybe,
Well, not this episode. We don't.
This episode is going to be different.
Yeah.
But, you know, any non-beholder related episode. I'm sorry, this thing has legendary actions, so it can take 3 legendary actions. It basically just does an eye ray.
Which is the same as the beholder.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Anything you want to add about the Death Tyrant?
I mean, I have nothing to add because I read all the stuff it does.
Okay.
So I'm not going to we already talked about homebrewing the rays. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the main thing I would change about it. Other than that, I think what carries a Death Tyrant in your campaign is probably its personality. What's its voice like? What's its prerogative? What's its goals? What's its personality? What's its interactions with your players? Like that's going to make it the most interesting Death Tyrant it can be.
That's probably one of the best things you can try to work out for really fun interactions in campaign is find a way to have a dialogue involved with your monster without having a confrontation.
Right. And then there's the other side of that too. Like the dual hand we talked about last episode, you don't need a conversation with that thing. That thing's so fucking interesting, just the interaction of fighting it.
Right.
But
you might be running away from that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
This is you're sneaking around its lair. Maybe you hear it echoing down the hallway. It's talking to itself, or
right,
giving out instructions.
Exactly. Yes. This thing is a really well thought out being with probably an extensive background that can be as interesting or uninteresting as your DM wants to make it.
You could find a way to divinate on it and have the interaction there.
Yeah.
Humans, I let you I let you see in on me, and I want to show you my beams.
My beams. I'm pretty sure that there is some sort of variant version of the beholder that can use magic, because the whole thing about beholders is they don't use magic. It's kind of like mind flayers, where it's against their beliefs, kind of, and also with the central eye of a beholder, it's anti-magic, so it doesn't make for great magic using.
This is the part of it all that doesn't make sense to me because of these rays. What are they? They're just I am sleep ray.
They're reality altering things.
Yeah, so it's not magic. It's just
my point here is that a Death Tyrant probably doesn't have those same qualms as a regular beholder because number one, it doesn't have an anti-magic eye, so that's not getting in the way. Number two, it's undead. What does it care? Time to become a fucking lich. But not a lich. It's time to become an undead wizard who doesn't have to deal with the phylactery problem.
Yes, but the phylactery isn't necessarily
a problem.
If
It's got pros and cons.
Yes.
It's got pros and cons.
Yes, but you're taking all those pros and cons don't exist here.
Yeah.
You just have a pseudo. Yeah, there's something missing here, I think is what we're getting at. There's just something missing about this stat block.
The stat block is what it is. The interesting thing is going to come from everything you do outside of it. That's kind of where I sit.
Add something to this because it needs it. I feel like it's.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
They didn't salt this beholder enough.
No salt.
It's all there. The skeleton of
got great ingredients.
really good is right there.
Just needs a little spice.
Just needs a little coriander or paprika. Oh, I just said that so bad.
Did you know that coriander is cilantro?
Oh, really? Is it just dried?
No, it's just cilantro.
It's just cilantro?
It's just the English word for cilantro.
Oh, dang.
And coming from California, we didn't know that because we've always called it cilantro.
I just have cilantro.
Look, we're taking a long rest now.
Okay. Hey, everybody, welcome to the long rest. This is the part of the episode where we normally build a beholder this year, and we talk about a whole bunch of housekeeping stuff and do fun jokes. But this is not a fun joke. This is a fact about beholders. Will, did you know that beholders, when they eat, they metabolize 100% of the material that they ingest?
Oh, so no poops for the beholders.
Not
is what
even
you're saying.
not even a butthole.
Not even no butthole necessary.
No butthole. It's a smooth Ken doll situation all the way down and all the way back.
Well, that's pretty impressive because, does that mean they can eat anything? Or are beholders picky about what they eat because they're like, oh, no, I can't digest all of that. That's going to cause a problem. Is that how some beholders just spontaneously die? They accidentally eat something that they can't digest?
They forget to vom.
Okay.
Interesting. Like Greek mythos or not mythos, but like Greek history and like Hunger Games. people just go to the bathroom to vom so they can go eat more.
I see.
Or like Attack on Titan.
So it just sits in there until they vomit it out.
They just have a clump of whatever up in their guts, and then
nasty.
If they go to bed with a clump in their body, they no butthole, right?
They can choke and die.
And if they so let's say they metabolize 100% of the food that they eat. When I say that, I mean 100% of the food that they need to eat. And beyond is what happens, what you say. They get that. So if they go to bed, they become, they alter reality, become the mouth of Gerlantor.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So what else we got to talk about today, Brian?
That was good. We are going to talk about we've got a Discord, or there is a Discord that exists. Go there and be D&D.
Yeah, a link for that will definitely be in the description. It pretty much always is.
Oh yeah, I remember what I was supposed to say. I just threw that out because I couldn't remember. But we got a PO box. Thanks to everybody who watched our Dredge into Shadowmire Keep episode that we dropped. I realized I forgot to put the PO box in the description of that video on YouTube, but did it on the podcast side. But it'll be on all the episodes that aired after that, which is to say several. But I'm going to hit it with you here. You can send us stuff at a P.O. box. The P.O. box is it's going to be P.O. box, P.O. box 1784, Upland, California, 91785. You want to send us something? Now you can do it. We've had a lot of requests, so we finally have a way that you can do that. That isn't my home address. I can't just be giving that out. Don't worry about sending packages and stuff. They said they would hold them behind the counter. No big deal.
Nice.
If you want to send us something but can't think of what to send, we also have an Amazon wish list. You can just go check that out and see what we got on there. It's mostly stuff for our YouTube background, or musical instruments for those of you that watch Super Quest Saga or other live plays. I do all the music. So if you get me an instrument, I will use it in the next thing I make. And I'll be anything that you guys buy us, we're going to shout you out on the show. We do with Patreon and stuff. If you give us stuff, we're going to let people know that you are awesome. And you're all awesome for listening. So you don't have to do any of this stuff, but people ask us. So we finally took the plunge. I'm looking at our YouTube background right now, and it needs more dragons. So
more dragons,
more miniatures. We've branched over. I've bought plenty of dice, but those are hard to display. Now, what else we got, Will? Thanks for everybody who participated in contests. I hope you enjoy your coffee.
Yeah, we should have at this point given away 3 bags, and there should be one more on its way somewhere.
A 4th bag.
Get on our Twitter and our Instagram if you want to know more about the coffee giveaways. Next episode we'll be announcing a new book. Well, it'll be over 5 days after.
If you want to go see the record of us giving away a bunch of coffee and asking people to share the show, you can do that.
That's true.
Thanks for helping visibility here. Patreon people, we are getting you a new yearly item, $20 and up. You can get this item. Do we want to announce what it is, or do we know what it is? Do I know what it is? I have an idea of what it is.
I'm not 100%. I know what I want it to be, but we're still trying to confirm. Because unfortunately, Patreon does this thing where it doesn't allow us to put our images on certain items unless the Patreon pledge is of a certain height. And although I feel like $20 a month is an amazing amount to give, apparently Patreon thinks it ain't shit. So they don't give us a lot of options, but we're going to figure it out.
Not for sweaters anyways.
I wanted to do hoodies one year and they wouldn't let us do hoodies. So
yeah, we have to charge a lot.
Yeah.
We have to make a brand new tier that we don't already have. That's, I think, is
exorbitant.
Yeah, and
I think
you
so.
will get a sweater and all the other stuff, which is dope.
Yeah, it is dope. It's just
that's a lot.
We'll figure it out. And as soon as I know, Brian will know, and then social media will know, and everyone will know.
The good news is we have art
being
made for whatever it is that we're going to put it on.
Indeed.
And I think you guys are going to fucking love it.
It's going to be amazing. I'm very excited about it. And anyone who's interested in that or any of the other bonus content we do, please go to patreon.com and pledge.
Yeah. It's going to be the best one one yet, I think. Go to patreon.com/Dungeoncast, get the bonus content, blah, 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 blah. What are we missing here?
I don't think we're missing anything. I think we got it all in.
We're missing something. Let's call it a game.
We'll call it a game. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.
The Dungeoncast.